Preparing. Okay. And welcome everybody. Welcome back to Truth Quest. My name is Aaron Moriarty. I will be your host, and we're going to go on a quest for truth together. And today, friends, we've got my most exuberant friend, Facebook friend here, Chuck Thunder. Chuck, welcome to the Truth Quest.
How's everybody doing out there?
Well, we're doing fine. In fact, if we were doing any better, we'd be you.
All right. Well, you'd be doing pretty good then, man.
Yeah. I got to say, Chuck, your posts are so exuberant. I mean, you're a guy, obviously, who loves life and everything about it. You've recently posted some drawings you did, and you're into music, and you're in the awakening realm. So I just think it's fantastic, and I love your posts. So keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Now, I didn't know this about you when I wanted to have you on the show, but apparently you have been to a lot of these like disclosure conferences and whatnot, and you've had some experiences. Let us know what you've seen or what you've experienced.
Cool. Well, it's kind of an interesting timeline. I'll get you caught up real quick on it because it's not something that happened all at once. About, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, YouTube, started really taking off. You could really find a lot of information on there. So I started getting curious about everything. Whether it was wars, dinosaurs, whatever. And then I finally worked my way up to the point of crop circles, right? Because we all remember that from Unsolved Mysteries in the 80s or whatever. And I thought, man, I wonder what's going on nowadays with those. And so I was fascinated to find out there's this whole array of facts associated with these crop circles. And then I thought, wow, you know what? I wonder if there's any, UFO sightings out there. So I started looking all that stuff up, and I found these great sites like Third Phase of Moon, and all these amazing sightings, and then I started coming into this whole gauntlet of people, like Dr. Stephen Greer, and he'd have these CE5s. And so that right then, I started learning that, all UFOs aren't metallic saucers. You might see something like an orb, and it might not necessarily be bound to the normal time. And so, I started to get an understanding for these things. And it wasn't long. I was having a day. I was kind of down, and it was dark, and I was sitting in my car in my driveway, and I looked up, and something started flashing in the sky. And I saw it once, and I, what the heck? And I looked, and it kept doing it. And I thought, wow, this, I instantly thought maybe it's somebody, one of those CE5s, So I just would think to it, and at the time, I just started checking out the Law of One. So I would send a greeting, greet in the love and light of the infinite creator type of thing. And then I just started seeing them more and more. The first time, and this is like a really bright star. Picture the brightest star in the sky. But they have this array of behaviors that they'll do. The ones I've seen. Sometimes they'll just float across the sky real slow. Sometimes they'll streak like something you'd see on Star Trek, and they'll leave a trail like. And sometimes they'll go halfway in between that. They'll look like an orb, but it almost looks like a bottle rocket or something, and they're leaving this trail. And it's pretty interesting. It's hard to tell how big this is because it just looks like a star. It's hard to gauge any kind of distance.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see something like that in the sky once or twice, that's one thing. But I started seeing these guys, and I still see them almost every time I go look for them, and the stars are out. And they've demonstrated things to me that they're not really bound by the normal constraints of time, like me and you, and that there's some kind of telepathic thing going on. Because I could be in my house and just boom, think of it, and I'll walk out and look up, and then they'll come right out almost immediately. And it's really neat because I'm not just a guy in the movie. Nobody believes me or anything. I've actually shown my close friends and my family have seen these with me. And like you said, I've gone to these conferences and I've seen these with hundreds of people. And so it's pretty amazing. Some of the activity I saw in the sky, like when I went to Eclipse of Disclosure and Dimensions of Disclosure, looked just like the stuff I've seen in my backyard, So I don't know if they're the same beings, or I would assume that they would at least know each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the first Eclipse of Disclosure was at Mount Adams. And, there's said to be a city below there, Telos and everything. And a lot of people might think that sounds crazy, but if you actually go out there, the locals know about it and everything. And so people see these UFOs around the mountains and stuff. And, I don't know if it's the same ones I see here in northern Michigan, but I would think they probably at least know each other or they're aware of each other or something. It's evidently just a pretty big complex picture of different races that do live here. As I started learning, I came into David Wilcock and Corey Hood. So most of you are probably familiar with those guys and the inner earth stuff. And, so I think maybe there's a fair chance these guys are from the inner earth. They're probably locals, because you see them so fast. But it's pretty amazing. There was one time I saw them during the day. Lights in the sky are one thing, even when they're doing intelligent things. But I saw them during the day one time, and I'm in northern Michigan, and so this is a great big bay in northern Michigan, and there's Petoskey over here, and there's Harbor Springs over here, and you can just see for miles. It's a beautiful place, and there's this East Park and this bike trail, and a paved bike trail. I'm rollerblading it, and I go up to this East Park, and I'm drinking and smoking, not cigarettes or anything. Those are bad for you. And so I skate up to the top of this East Park, and there wasn't too many people around or anything. And I'm sitting there eating Skittles, and I'm pondering all these things. Wow, I the UFOs and the CE5s and this and that and the other thing, and I'm kind of looking in the sky for them. And I still remember in my head, I said, well, you're just not going to see them in broad daylight over a populated area. It just doesn't work that way. And no sooner did I say that, and I looked up, and my mind kind of stuttered for a second because I saw a sphere, and it was about the size as if like a seagull was flying over your head. And so it's, and I would gauge it as this sphere was as big as if you put your arms and your legs out and you had a sphere around you. It was a smaller sphere like that. And it was rotating really slow. And you could see it had geometry on it because it was reflecting in the sun a little bit. I couldn't make out any specific shapes of it. And right in front of him was one of these super bright stars, like I see at night, only this was sunny day. And them two are just slowly going overhead. And I was just stunned for a minute. And then it took me a second. I thought, hey, these are the ones that visit me at night, and so I with my mind, I sent them the greeting, greet you in the love and light of the infinite creator. And I've always tried to communicate with them that way because that's what they say. They're telepathic. They can hear your thoughts. And so I've always, just tried to send simple messages of, love or whatever. How can I help you? Or, I don't know what they want. I assume they want people to just know they're here, because I don't know who they are. They've never come up in my dreams or anything and shook my hand or gave me a clear picture of who they are, but they're for sure somebody. Somebody it would fit a description of, what people talk about fourth density beings, and they have a technology and they're not necessarily found in our time. It seems to me something like that, like something that Corey Good would talk about. I don't know that they're the same or anything, but imagine if they wanted to zip down and pick you up out of your room. I mean, they probably could. I've seen them do really incredible things.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's incredible. So the one you saw in the daylight, now you said there's one craft like a sphere and then a bright thing in front of it. What color was the sphere?
It was dark and just
Dark
metallic. Color? I wouldn't think it was really a color. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. Wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've seen some stuff over here in Door County on the other side of the swamp from you.
Oh, yeah?
The big lake. Yeah. Lake Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not in the Upper Peninsula. You're in the Mitten part,
Yeah, I'm just below, I'm in the northern lower part.
northern part of the Mitten.
Yeah, this is supposed to be, one of the top 10 areas, where it was, 4 or 5 years ago. It might be higher now, for UFO sightings and stuff. I guess they come and go
Wow.
out of the Great Lakes and, Lake Erie. I've seen a lot of footage down there. And well, there's some kind of, I can't remember the name of the place, some kind of rock and roll, famous rock and roll place, and it's down there by Lake Erie or something. And that's where a lot of the musicians go, that have had UFO contact, and they come and go out of that lake. And you guys, filmed it, and it's, I don't know if you can still find this stuff on YouTube, but when I started looking into this stuff, it wasn't so heavily censored yet, so you could
Right.
really find a lot of good
Yeah.
stuff, and now
Yeah.
it's like it's really hard. It's really hard to know who to trust all the way too, because everybody has a little different, spin, and
Hmm.
I think it's really important just to take all the information in for the facts of what it is, no matter
Yeah.
who it is. If it's Dr. Stephen Greer and you don't agree with what he says, or if it's Corey Good and you don't agree with everything he says, that's okay. Just take it in as a picture, because
Yeah.
that's what I did, and it all really starts to make sense when you put these things together of what you can really build a picture of what might be going on. It's not
Yeah.
really that far out in your head
I mean,
around it.
we all feel like we should be further along than we are. We shouldn't be still driving, gas powered cars and, it, like the Jetsons. I mean, we should be living like the Jetsons by now. I mean, that was the 60s. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, it just doesn't make any sense that we're not further along. And the only explanation is this secret space program, which, even if all of these people are making this up, there probably is something like that that's just like what they're saying. You know, it's just has to be, I
They
think.
do. They just can't be making it up. Right here in northern Michigan, there's such a variety of sightings. And just a little while ago, I had a friend. I can't even remember which one, but he has a relative that works with a 911 dispatch, and they
Hmm.
got a call. I mean, it's not even 5 miles from my house. There's a gas station, a mini mart, and they
Hmm.
got a call out there with triangular craft. This was just a couple years ago,
Cool.
and I thought, wow, and triangular craft to me that says secret space program.
Hmm.
It's been a lot of interesting stories around here I've heard too. It's kind of secondhand information coming from me, but a lot of your classic stuff, like you used to hear about, like a missing time and people going to the woods. And my friend down the road, he's an older guy, and he told me about his grandma's story, talk about that kind of stuff. Her and her husband would go out in the woods and then just wake up, and he saw, they saw like saucer type things and beams coming down in the woods, and wild stuff like that. I was amazed once I started seeing stuff, and then I started talking to all the people around here. They get this funny look on their face and just really light up, and you'd think for a second like they were, kind of read them, and then they'd have some kind of story of something they saw. I've seen people friends that have seen saucer craft like you saw sitting on the ground. Um,
Wow.
just amazing
In
stories.
in
I
Michigan,
never knew what to believe about.
right? Till you
Yeah,
see it yourself, then you go, "Whoa, yeah, that's what it takes."
yeah.
That's what it's going to take for most people. They're going to have to actually see it themselves, because, there's plenty of people, honestly talking about what they really saw. That now that the government is sort of easing up, they're sort of hinting at, oh yeah, they're going to be releasing something soon. Um, Something that was put in play by the previous president, POTUS, a UFO disclosure of what UFOs are, and so we're gonna get something, but it's never going to be really enough, because they always just give you a couple nuggets, and then they hide everything even further.
Yeah.
It's
I hate to say it, but I don't think I would fully trust anything that came from the people on this planet. I wouldn't take any pills or drugs from them. I wouldn't trust 100% if they today walked on TV with ETs, I would be wondering who they are. I wouldn't just be impressed, because this stuff is definitely real. You know, it's
Yeah.
definitely out
Oh,
there.
definitely. Definitely.
Before I saw, I didn't really need to see it because I just knew, and I can read people enough that when enough people to sit there that have saw something that tell you, you know, and you look at them and you say, you know, you start to get the idea, you know, and like me, I don't go around, I don't need the attention for this kind of, I'm not trying to sell a book or anything like that. I
Mhm.
just feel like it's kind of, you're duty bound to share these experiences with people because
Mhm.
everybody needs to know this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It might take a while to chip away at people's armor. You know, you might learn this information online and your family, like, yeah, well, you know, my parents, I work with them. So they were riding around with me every day while I was going through learning all this stuff. And that's all I talked about from 8 a.m. till 5 o'clock. And at first it's like, oh yeah, people on Mars. Oh yeah, the government's lying to you. Now they're just hip to all this stuff. And enough has come out in the mainstream, and the president himself, the real president, has come out and said
Mhm.
things that they just know, and they know the rest of it. And they both come out, stepped outside their front door with me and seen these guys. And
Wow.
I've had a really good friend of mine, Chuck Utley. He saw them with me, and
Mhm.
and you go right out and you look for them, and they'll just come right out. You know, it's like you don't have to hunt around. And when they came out for my dad and my friend Chuck, it was like super bright orb, and they come out, and it was, you could tell it's lower than, it's not in like an orbit or something like that. And it would orb up and get super bright and then flash down, orb up, and just did that across the sky. And it's so neat because no matter how many times you tell people about it, when you watch them see it for the first time, they're speechless. They're always just like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it's like when I went to the first Eclipse of Disclosure, I was lucky enough to be, I was a guest at all three of the Eclipse of Disclosure and then the two dimensions of disclosure. And it was an amazing time and amazing people I met. And, you know, and I met a lot of people that worked around Corey and helped them. And they're all just the nicest, most amazing people I ever met. You know, and I kind of thought everybody was having the same experience as me, you know. So we were standing there and what's his name from the radio, Jimmy Church, he had a table up with the night vision, and those guys are oohing and on, seeing things in the sky. And I'd already seen them. So I figured I'm standing next to a tent with a bunch of people in there. And there's hundreds of people at this conference. It was when we moved to the, I don't know, it was like a ranch or an old factory or something. It was really cool where everybody was camping. And one just started like right above me, just started flashing and blinking, really showy, to me, really showy. And I was like, wow. And I looked around and nobody else seemed to notice, you know. So I said to the people in the tent, I was like, wow, you guys know there's, UFOs out here, right? And they're like, they come out, and I thought, well, sure enough, it'll stop but it didn't. And they just stayed right there, you know, and you knew it wasn't a helicopter or anything like that. And yeah, people there just are speechless. It's neat to watch them see it for the first time.
Well, yeah, it really is. That's the wake up call that you can't deny. I mean, some people can put themselves back to sleep, but they're never the same. Say we got some people in the chat saying hi, and Sella says, "Do you think because your mind is open to it, you are manifesting them?" I say,
No, I don't think I could. I don't think I'm manifesting something that visual that other people would be seeing and stuff like that.
well, I think what they mean is you're manifesting them showing themselves, like you're connected.
Contact? Oh, absolutely. I think that they're not allowed to show themselves to you if it would disrupt you at all. I think you have to be a real on the level to begin with to
Right.
be, level-headed about it. And
Also, our
yeah,
buddy Steve Safalo, the artist extraordinaire, is on here. Of course, you are too. But so Steven says hi.
how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Aaron, Chuck is the best. So there you go. You
I
got,
love all you guys, man. You guys are my people.
yeah, it is, maybe our personal lives are not filled with, lots of agreeing people, but at least online we've got this group of amazing people that we can relate to and
Oh,
feel
sure.
human again,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what it was like when I went to these conferences. It was like a real human experience, like a tribal experience, right? And
Hmm.
people would set up their booths, and here they had their psychedelic tapestries, and they were doing the meditations, and over here they're doing tea, and over here they're doing all the like a little sort of like artistic renaissance. It was just, and I love that so much.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of really people working hard to bust that kind of thing up, though, and there's always like anytime you get a group going, somehow they get interfered with by these people out there, and you know who you are.
Yeah.
But
Well, they can't attack the message, so they attack the messenger. Their job is to, divide and conquer any way they can.
yeah,
And, so one way to find out who the shills are is when someone says, we're looking for unity in the community. If someone else, counters that with non-unity messages, they are not really part of the group, even though they are on TV all the time. But
yep. Yeah,
why
the
are
most amazing people. The most amazing people are the ones waking up right now, though. I've got a lot of different groups of friends from different. I've got my heavy metal friends. Got my accounts for 2,000 of my Facebook friends, and then I have my disclosure friends. And what I love is the beautiful thing is I've watched these two groups. People will meet and they won't tell you or anything, but they meet over your Facebook. So I watched all my heavy metal friends kind of become my disclosure friends.
cool?
And it's amazing how everyone I know seems to be on the same page now. Like they're maybe not to the UFO point yet, but they're sharing information about they don't believe in vaccines, they don't believe in COVID, they don't believe in, and it's really I see what I've gone through in the past 5 years, my little awakening that I've just described to you guys in the timeline. I kind of see everyone else is just they're doing that now. Like I think we passed the hundredth monkey effect a long time ago, and I think we're already farther along than what people think. I really do.
I think you're right. I think you're right about that. Definitely. Um, so and no, what about your toy friends too? Because I know you're a toy collecting aficionado.
Well, yeah, I've actually hoped to make some more of those soon because there's actually all these amazing, cool '80s toy lines coming out right now, and one of them is He-Man, the Metaverse, which is one of my favorites, and it still is. Like I have totes full of these toys, right? And so that's kind of come out and going mainstream again. So I've been watching all these adults, like my age, out there experiencing it for the first time since they were a kid again, and with their kids, and I think it's a really neat positive thing for the world right now because you have all this stuff on your news feed of all this you commies trying to take over but then you get all these people like holding up their Castle Grayskull saying I have the power and stuff and it just really makes me smile. I think toys are a good thing, man.
Toys are very powerful. They're a child's first real belongings other than clothing or food.
Yeah.
It's
How many of these people know about your history with the fantastic toys that some of us grew up on?
Yeah, I had the great pleasure of working at Hasbro back in 83, 84 when they broke $1 billion. First ones to do that. It was just it was amazing because these people were so talented, and some of them are still friends of mine on Facebook, like Jerry Benicasso. In fact, Jerry Benicasso, he was the sculptor at Tonka Toys. I worked at Tonka Toys for a while too. And we had the license for Willow to make the toys for the movie Willow. And so I was doing drawings for the toy line. And so Jerry Benicasso gave me this manila folder with scrap, which is photographs, slides, and black and whites of behind the scenes of the movie so that you can work on the toy line at the same time they're making the movie. So they would come out at the same time. And he wrote on that book, hang on to this. I still got it. So it's from George Lucas Films, and it's got really cool. Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Oh no. It's here.
That's neat stuff, man. I remember Willow. That was one of those things that stuck in my head. Every once in a while, you get those movies that stick in your head when you're growing up, and that was a neat one.
So here's the thing. See? Willow scrap. Hang on to it. So look, check this out. I mean, this is incredible. This is like an 8.5 by 11, 8 by 10, black and white of Val Kilmer, Matt Mardigan, and what's his name? Playing the ogre. Richie Cunningham's brother. What's his name? Here's Willow with that same guy. Clint Howard played the monster, this guy. And here's Queen Bavmorda. She was she looks a little bit Nancy-ish, don't you think? I mean,
yeah, I was going to say there's something familiar going on. She's got to be a liberal.
It's fancy Nancy. Oh, and this is what happens to people when they look at her too long.
You don't even need horror movies anymore because these are exactly what the people on TV are looking like. They're supposed to be running half our country.
Right. So here's a great one with Val Kilmer, Ron Howard, and Clint Howard behind the scenes. Some cool stuff. So
Really cool.
that's all neat. I hope I don't get in trouble for having these still. But he told me to hang on to them. I still have them. Been over 30 years. So yeah.
So you should be safe.
So now you've told me before that it was He-Man that kind of woke you up in a way to think about other planets.
That was Steven that said that, but yeah, I would agree with that.
Oh, that was Steven that said that. Oh, it was that's right, a comment on your post. Sorry about that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that was there's the neat thing about that show. It's not like they just sat around and a bunch of guys made this up. They actually had I guess extensive studies and stuff, and so they got young boys, right? And they find out what do they like, what words do they like, power, and they like these things, and they put all this together. So the way I see it, they kind of built this out of the subconscious of young people, which is so cool. And you think, why did these certain elements come out and resonate so much with people? And it's a huge thing all over the world. It's really neat. I just saw this Italian heavy metal band playing the intro, and they made this video and they're all dressed up and man, and it's really, you got to go see it on YouTube.
I saw it. I saw.
Did you?
Yeah, I saw. I think you posted it, and I clicked on it, and it was fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful. And just to see, like me, I'm on like my fifth childhood, so I just take this stuff for granted. But I'm watching like a lot of the world right now, just rediscover their childhood. And you can't go wrong with that because I clearly remember when I was a young kid, before I had negative thoughts about this. I remember when I first realized other people, they think He-Man's gay or stupid or at fifth grade, everybody's too cool for it then. Well, everybody loves it now. But so I realized some things I might like, other people start to get, and it was just really nice before I had that negativity, before I had, and I like to tap into that just kind of pure way of looking at things. You're not thinking like, well, that's, this or that, like you're just looking at like, wow, this cool concept, and what I liked, my favorite episodes were the portal ones where you could just open up a doorway and walk instantly to another place, man. I mean, with this whole, the technology and stuff we've been told about, man, I want to build a portal around, I want to step through an instant door like right now and go, it's cold and snowy here. I want to go to some hot desert right in the middle of nowhere where there's just nothing, but maybe a big desert lake. And then I'll go off to a 1,000-year-old city and have dinner, and then I'll be home in time to feed my cats and just walk through some kind of door, like I dream of that. And I almost crave that. Like you said, we feel like we should be farther ahead. I crave these things, and I just know that we should be there, and we could get there really quick. I mean, things could change really fast.
Yeah, look how fast they changed in just 4 years. I mean, what a difference! Someone in charge that really knows what they're doing, and
this is
thinking about
a big concerted effort to bring us to this level of consciousness. I mean, it was deliberate. Our
Yeah.
own people brought us this information through various means, and yeah, you can't deny it. You look around, you go to your local grocery store, you'll find people that know something about something.
Sure.
It's beautiful. When I started going to the dentist, right, and I'm sitting there, telling them about fluoride and UFOs and stuff, and the little bit what I could talk to them, and come 4 or 5 years later, like last year when I went in, the lady's sitting there telling me all about Nazis and all this stuff, and I'm just sitting there going, yeah. And I just couldn't believe that it came full circle like that. It seemed like no one would believe this stuff. And then all of a sudden everybody's telling you about it. And like, you're the one that's behind.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing when people are plugged into that, the boob tube, they can be just manipulated. They didn't even know they're being manipulated. Some very high-tech technologies being used to command them to think certain ways, and they just think it's their feelings, and it's
I
it's
can't
really
argue with them because,
well,
yeah, it's like they really think that.
once you're woken, once you are awakened, you can't go back to to being asleep. I mean, it's just not an option. So what we become is just plant seeders, seeding plants for everybody, or planting the seeds, and eventually they'll sprout and they'll realize some of this stuff too. And
Yeah.
and emotion is powerful, and I think your posts have a lot of positive emotion, charged with exuberance and a zest for life. So thank you for that. You're bringing up, you're raising our vibrations by helping us with those. So if you're on Facebook, check out now. Your name on Facebook is, what is it? It's
Chuck Raymond. But I
Chuck
think you
Raymond.
can still type in Chuck Thunder and get there. You'll
Okay.
see me.
So Chuck Thunder is your stage name for your rock band, right?
Yeah, that's like my persona name. I guess it's more than just a rock, it's like, Chuck Thunder. It might go into comics too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Your drawings are very cool, very cool, and it's neat. You show them in progress. The sketch, then the inking, and then the coloring. Very nice, very nice. I
I
like
love
the
that. I love when. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I like the little Dr. Seuss characters you did too. Those are pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
There's something really cool about that Dr. Seuss stuff. It's very imagination probing. It makes you think about stuff. So,
yeah. Well, I look at some of these influences and the things that I've bonded to over my life, and of course, Dr. Seuss books. That's something I think we all bonded to at one point. And
yeah.
and I wonder how much of this stuff has that subtle influence from, I don't like to say ETs or whoever, but whoever's helping us along. I think there's a subtle little magic into certain things. Maybe it's music you connect with, or even the
Mhm.
TV shows or whatever. It's not all bad programming. And I think there's a magical force that works its way into some of this stuff, and tries to help us along or educate us to certain things or get our mind
Mhm.
acclimated to certain possibilities.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And I think I was talking to Steve Cefalo about when an artist puts his emotions into the art, it's felt by the person seeing the art, and that would go for TV shows or animated shows or anything. You know, um,
Yeah, he when he talked about that amazing, the one with the, I think it was a guitar and the highlights on the guitar, and he had that emotional response to it and stuff. That was neat. Yeah, I love that interview with him. You got to get him on there again. I could just listen to you guys talk about art.
yeah, yeah. He wants to be on, and I think it's going to happen sometime next week. We got to set it up, but yeah, that was a great one. Yeah, he's such a great artist, and um,
He's a great guy too. He's a gentle soul. I got the privilege of meeting him a couple times, and he's just a really mild mannered, thoughtful person. Just like so many of the wonderful people I met. Like half of them are probably watching this right now, but yeah,
yeah,
all you great people out there, just stay positive, man, and just keep smiling, man, because you're already winning. I mean, all you gotta do is take a look around.
hmm
It's easy to get overwhelmed with the evil that's been exposed and think, oh God, we're overwhelmed, but that's because we shine a light on that collectively as our consciousness, man. So I hope everybody's looking at this the way I am, that I don't care what they tell me on internet or TV, I'm surfing this wave, man. And I'm going to surf it through no matter what happens here, man.
That's
So,
awesome. Surfing the wave. I think I hear
surf.
another Chuck Thunder hit coming on there.
Surfing. Oh, I think I already wrote that one.
Yeah, you already wrote that one?
No, I think they already wrote that. I was thinking Beach Boys, man. Surfing,
Oh, yeah.
surfing USA or something, man. I'll have to do something like that, man. I like
Yeah.
to tap into all these different genres. I'd like to do like something that would be like remind you of a Beach Boys song, and then the next song will remind you of like Twisted Sister, and then another one I'll throw like a rap song at you or something crazy.
Do you know what band influenced the Ramones a lot?
No.
The Beach Boys.
Oh yeah. No, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Rockaway Beach.
Yeah.
And they even remade one or two Beach Boys songs. But yeah, they're very heavily influenced by the Beach. You never would think that.
Man, I love the Ramones. It's just one of those bands you could just put in and just listen to all day long. And
Yeah.
oh man, I love those songs so much.
Yeah, and I loved them because they brought back the 2-minute song, because
Yeah.
songs were getting too long at the point when they came out, and they brought it back to rock and roll, 2 minutes of rock and roll, and then it's done.
I always thought that was kind of more like a punk thing, like like Misfits and War, even they bang out like a 2-minute song like real quick, and you just like there's no need to repeat everything twice. A lot of the mainstream music you hear now, they repeat everything like so many times. It's like I heard you the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the length of the song from, back in the 50s when rock and roll first started off, rockabilly, 2-minute songs, sometimes under 2 minutes. Yeah. So and the 80s were kind of like a repeat of the 50s in a lot of ways. You had your Thin Ties, like the 50s and 60s, and you had like the Stray Cats bringing rockabilly back. But now, now you are a big heavy metal fan now. So what is your favorite heavy metal band?
Well, I got to throw a handful in there, because Twisted Sister, you got Man of War, you got Nightwish, and then the whole time when I was, growing up from my teens to my 30s, it was War and King Diamond, and each one of these bands are so different from each other and from different eras. Oh, but man, and I love them for different reasons. But Twisted Sister, I think it's got to be like one of my most favorite, them and Man of War, because it's music that's so positive and inspiring that it just makes you want to just kick butt in the world, man, and just go out there and just strut, man, and just nothing's gonna bring you down, man. Nothing's gonna, and I just love that good time, good feel good music. I listened to all that stuff in the 80s, of course, and then when I got turned into a teenager and then went into the 90s, I went down into the darker stuff, like that death metal and this and that. And then I come around late 90s, early 2000s, they still come out with Grand Theft Auto and stuff, right? And they had the radio stations on there, and they'd play like Iron Maiden and Twisted Sister, and I just listened to them. I'm like, my God, that's the best music ever, right? That's the best era, that's the best energy. And if I was gonna be a musician and come at you with a song, I'd want to come at you with that kind of energy, just.
That's cool. I think maybe the only heavy metal group I ever saw, and some people might not even classify it as heavy metal, was I saw Kiss a number of years ago.
Yeah.
They were back in their Destroyer outfits and they were rocking the house. Unbelievable. But yeah, I guess it was the drummer's mom, Peter Chris's mom's idea to put the makeup on. She said, well, if you're going to be famous singers or a famous group, why don't you wear a costume, disguise yourself on stage so you can live a normal life off stage? And they did. And
hide yourself. That's a good idea.
They could go to the grocery store and, no one would know.
Yeah. Well, for a while, there was a real mystique about them because there just wasn't any photos of them.
Yeah.
Or anything you never get now because everybody's carrying a camera around in their pocket, But
Oh,
That was
uh-oh.
neat, man. You
One
know,
more.
they started this whole.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Kiss, you know, they just started this whole theatric, you know, costume thing, which is so amazing, you know. And then you look at like bands like War, you know, they just took it, you know, a couple generations down the line, took it a step further, and just I love that avenue of music and the heavy theatrics, and it's a show, and it's
Yeah,
not just a guy singing a song. There's a story involved.
right.
I saw
Yeah,
King Diamond a couple years ago, and it was amazing. The whole set was like this old time mental institution, right? And they wheeled King Diamond out on this gurney. And it was just, you'd have to see it to believe it, the theatrics. And he sings all these stories, and he has this woman, and she plays all the parts. And at one point, she dances, and I swear she must, if you ask her, she must pick like one person out of the audience and just stares at him, you know, like both times I saw King Diamond, she stared at me like that. It was really
wow, cool.
weird. It was the coolest show I've ever seen, though.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, he's still out there touring, man. So if you ever get a chance.
That's cool. Um, on the Kiss Psycho Circus album, they had a song. It's like an awakening song. It's called "We Are One." It's a really, really cool song. You know, yeah. So if you ever get a chance, check that out.
I can't think of that one off the top of my head, but that sounds.
We are one. We are one. I can't remember how it goes. It's been a while since I've heard it, but it's a really, really good song. It's about, um, they look out at the audience and they see themselves looking back at them, because a lot of them are wearing the makeup. It's like we are one. It's a very cool thing. Yeah. And our friend Steven Cefalo in the chat says, Ramones. I met every Ramone. Well, now we're jealous, Steve. That's pretty cool. You got to meet every single Ramone.
Yeah, like the whole punk territory covered, man. And I always liked a lot of that music, but I don't know like a lot of those bands. I mean, if you want to know who to listen to in the zoo, man, you go talk to him, and he'll have the list for you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got all that down. Huh? That's
he
cool.
was more into the punk than, I was more into the metal and that.
Right.
Which to me, it's all just rock and roll. It's all part of one genre, one rock and roll under the infinite creator for justice and heavy metal for all.
It's still rock and roll to me. Remember that Billy Joel song? Great song.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty cool. And so you're working on some new songs. I saw some pictures of your studio.
Yeah.
And what is your YouTube channel so that people can check it out?
Well, I got some really old songs and even my own rock video that's self-produced on Mr. Chuckster Guy. That would be all one word, MR, capital C, Chuckster Guy. I haven't got around to putting an actual Chuck Thunder thing yet, but I will. There's some other Chuck Thunder guy I'm doing video games or something. That's not me. So yeah, and I got my old songs, it was neat because my whole awakening I kind of put in the music, Keep in mind I didn't have any musical background or knowledge or anything, so I self-taught myself. And I kind of went from this angry stage to the space thing to now I'm making disclosure metal, and so I had a lot of fun.
Disclosure metal. I love that. Disclosure metal.
Now I have a website out there, chuckthunder.com, and I think there's a sample of my Truth Bomb song on there, which I think is my best, probably one of my best works out there.
ChuckThunder.com.
Laying it down. Yeah.
ChuckThunder.com. Go over there and hit like on that ChuckThunder.com or subscribe to it or do whatever you need to do.
You can even get yourself one of their fancy beings on that site. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look, greetings from Mike in Brazil. Hello, Mike. Welcome from Brazil. Wow. Brazil. Wow. They got some pretty good weather down there, I think. Don't they?
Probably nicer than it is here right now. It's snowing again.
It's snowing? Oh my.
Yeah.
Not here. Not here, thank goodness.
I didn't even think to shut the heater off. I hope it's not annoying the whole audience here. I hope it sounds like a jet behind me.
Oh yeah.
I'll shut it up. It's kind of late now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what else was I going to ask you? Um, so when you went to the disclosure conference, um, who kind of blew you away the most, or whose story did you kind of resonate with the most when you went there?
Oh, and there's quite a few. I mean, because every speaker was always dynamite, and they were part of like some intricately higher woven puzzle. And when you said that, I instantly thought of Nira Isley.
Oh,
So when
wow.
I went to the first. Oh, it's really neat getting to meet her because of course, I saw all these people on videos and stuff like that. And I knew who they were, and I knew her story and everything, and I knew she was going to be there. And so the first eclipse of disclosure, we're in this beautiful old ballroom, kind of like hotel or whatever you call it. And I walked out and I'm standing there looking at this Mount Adams, and I hear like this magical singing. Like I thought was like, I'm like, you know what I mean? I really thought I was like maybe hearing something, and I walk around the corner and there she was warming up. She was singing. And I mean, just all around, she had her not her story with the stuff on the moon and that, but stuff she like remembered about like her other life, another planet and stuff, where it was peaceful and cool and everything, and then like the reptilians came along, and they didn't understand that there was these brutal beings that would kill you and stuff, and they just, I mean, the world basically fell. Like, you'd have to get the story from her, but it was just one of those things. Like sometimes when you hear stuff, it just sticks in your bones, man. Whether you heard it on a cartoon or whether you heard it from somebody's testimony or something, and her stuff really, yeah, it was neat. I got to meet her too and stuff. I got a selfie with her. And she had a Stargate SD1 hat, and it was just one of the highlights of my life.
That's cool. Yeah, she is cool, and there's some very disturbing parts of her story, and it's so sad
Oh,
that she had to go through some of that horrifying. See, that's the thing that people don't really think about when they say, "Oh, I wish I could have some of these experiences." Well,
you don't.
they're not always, they're not always that great. I mean, like I think Corey Good talks about, when you're on board a ship and you go to get something to drink. It's a closed system as far as
Yeah,
waste and food. So wastewater is filtered and then presented back as a drink. So
yeah.
it might not be as
I'll take a hard pass on that.
yeah, well, but you're going to get thirsty and it's clean. I mean, it is what
Sometimes
it is.
it's not always worth it to have these experiences. I don't think people want to be desperate to have contact or anything like that. Like I just want to contact somebody so to prove to me this is real. I wouldn't just forget about that if that's the thinking that someone has, because there
Yeah,
are negative ones out there and stuff, and you don't want to be like taken advantage of, and you don't want to be starstruck with these people either.
right, right.
The UFO, the ETs or whoever. It's like when we went to the first eclipse of disclosure, it was really neat and small, and we actually got to eat lunch and everything with all the speakers. So I'd be sitting at a table, and over here's Corey Good, here's Laura Eisenhower or whatever, and
Wow.
it was really neat, and of course I would never be one of those people that would go around and bother somebody or act like a fool, and it's the same way with like the ETs or the ET contact. I just think of them as another, what I mean, so another view or whatever. It's kind of
Mhm.
like what the law one says,
Yeah,
but just
yeah.
in a literal way, and if I can help them at all, that's great. I don't need to use that to sell a book or to be cool or anything. I just, I want to facilitate that because I can understand kind of them a little bit and what I've been told, and I can understand people here, and maybe if I can bridge the gap a little bit, that's cool, you know.
Well, they might be giving you messages to do these songs because I know that who is it? What's his name? Can't Drive 55.
Sammy Hagar.
Sammy Hagar. He claims, and I got his book, that aliens came and they telepathically downloaded that song to him and said, "You got to do this song." can't
Yeah.
drive 55. And so
Oh,
that's
really? That 55? That's so neat.
yeah, yeah. And that was, I think, his biggest hit, right?
I always love that video and everything. I mean, I just watched it not that long ago, and he's in that Ferrari or something
Yeah,
behind that truck, and I love that stuff. That's so
that's
fun.
I had the great pleasure of meeting Prince a couple of times, and that was something else. He was a really, really nice guy. Um, he
Did
always
you
really,
ever have any kind of UFO contact or something? Because I thought he was on that list of people that did. Um,
um,
it's a huge list of musicians, man, whether it's reggae or hip hop or rock, anybody that invented anything, they literally have some sort of contact thing, whether it's dreams or they see light or they talk or whatever. They've all got that in common, which I think is really interesting.
yeah,
I wish they would help me with my guitar a little bit because I'm so horrible musically. It's hard to believe I could, help the world.
hey, now, something to keep in mind. Now, you remember Sonny and Cher?
Mhm.
Okay. They had some pretty big hits, right?
Yeah.
I Got You, Babe, and things like that. Okay. Sonny wrote all that music. Sonny only knew 3 chords. So that's all you need.
That's what I got to start thinking. Simplify it.
That's all you need. Just a couple chords, and you can do amazing stuff. And look at what Sonny did. And she
Yeah.
refused to sing. She wouldn't sing unless he sang with her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Otherwise, he didn't want to. But that's what he had to do. But yeah, 3 chords. That's it. So you
You know
play
that, you know that one band, Spinal Tap? Do you remember those guys?
Spinal Tap? Yeah.
I remember that one song, and Cher was a guest singer on there.
Oh,
That whole
cool.
album was really good. Break Like the Wind. You ever,
Break like the wind.
if you ever heard that album, it's really good. I didn't get the joke back in the day. I just thought they were British, but they're not.
Uh-huh.
It's a put on, so
Wow.
they're really,
Funny.
they're really fun band.
I saw Cher. She was Cyndi Lauper opened up for her, and in my mind, Cyndi Lauper blew her away. I'm a big Cyndi Lauper fan. She's got a great voice. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she used to have pro wrestlers in her videos. I mean, that right there is way cool.
Yeah. Speaking of pro wrestlers, and going back to He-Man, I think that when that came out, I saw that and I went, "Oh my God, that is such a powerful looking man. He's got like muscles bulging so far. It was like it's like the power that every little boy wishes they had. So it's like just like My Little Pony is perfect for girls, He-Man is perfect for boys. I mean, I was into the big, building muscles. I sent away for the muscle kit and everything.
What if that's really more like what our species is supposed to look like, and that's why we connect with it, before we had interference from whoever this and that. The other thing, what if we're, I bet there's planets of people walking around looking just like that, and they don't work out or nothing. Prince Adam, he's not spending no time in the gym, but look at the bicep.
Yeah.
I want to be on the Prince Adam plan. I want to nap all day with my cat and wake up with pecs like that.
Well, Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch, he has some pretty good muscles. And I think he always gets photographed right after he gets done working out because, you're all pumped up after you work out.
Yeah.
But that's cool. He's got that persona. So you're seeing these UFOs overhead over there in northern Michigan. Have you gotten any of them on tape?
Well, I had a really hard time with that because my cameras and my phones and everything, even somebody sent me an iPad once, they won't really film the stars. At one time I got one barely on there, so I know that it would actually show up. Now the daytime sighting, when I saw them go overhead, after I did the greeting and everything, they were moving really slow, so I had time to think about it, and I thought, I could just pick my camera up and film them. And I thought, I don't care about that. And I thought, well, why not? And so I did. I picked it up, and nothing showed up on the video at all. And
Wow.
I think something should have. They were moved a little bit further away from me by then, but something should have been there.
Right.
But nothing. Just me talking. And to top it off, see, there was other people around at this East Park, but I looked around when as things went overhead, and they all just happened to wander off. They were nowhere to be seen. And then as soon as it left, like some people pulled up, and it's a real like richy neighborhood. So this guy, he had lots of money, pull out, knew his family and everything, and come out. And I, of course, tried to tell him what I just saw, which was futile. He's like, oh well, must have been a drone or something.
Wow.
He couldn't understand. But it was one of the neatest things that I ever seen. And I'm sure, you think, and I just couldn't help being in the area and everything. I just think, I wonder back to how many Native Americans, how many people in history have sat there, up here and seen and interacted with these people, because they must have interacted with us for all along, and still are. I mean, thousands and thousands of people are having interactions with these guys.
Yeah. I get another question over there in Michigan. I think that area is big for Bigfoot too. Have you heard any Bigfoot accounts over there?
No, I heard one from the guy that from the junkyard down the road from my parents. I think he was saying that he's seen something, and I don't know, maybe he did at the time. I always thought, but after stuff I've seen and the accounts I've heard from people, I mean, I wouldn't count it out. I mean, around here, yeah, there's just places people can't go because they're huge, just swamps that you couldn't even walk through. They're so thick. I mean, so there's plenty of room around here and I tend to think of the Bigfoot, from what I see and all the people talking, that's probably like some kind of fourth density being or something, because these golden orbs that's the first thing you find out if you start YouTubing them, is these golden orbs are often associated with Bigfoot. So they're probably just zipping in, doing their thing, and maybe, bending some trees or doing their hunting rituals or meditate or whatever they do, and they probably zip right back out, and that's why you never track them down or find them.
Okay, I'm going over to the chat here, and let's see. Steven says, He-Man was a hugely positive moral influence, very love-based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how they did that story without really violence. I'm a fan of it. I like violence, comic book, cartoon violence. But with all this show is always trying to get darker and more violence, and it's all like big fight scenes. It was really neat to have that show, and they do it without that.
Well, who would go up against a guy that looks like He-Man? I mean, he's going to win every fight, right?
Well, some of these bad guys weren't too smart, so.
Well, I was always curious. Now, how could Skeletor, a guy named Skeletor, have beefy muscles just like He-Man, but then a skeleton face? I mean, that's kind of weird.
He got that burned off in one of the early things, man.
Oh, is that what happened? Okay.
And He-Man, and it bounced off and melted it, because he used to be Keldor. See, he used to be like a regular dude.
I didn't catch that part. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've got all the DVDs, so.
Okay. I guess I got to brush up on my He-Man, but I did see that as such a very, very cool, very empowering to young boys. It's the ultimate masculine physique.
Yeah.
And it's powerful just to look at and to hold. It's a powerful thing. Yeah. And
I think of that a lot. Like, you look at all the comic books and everything, where everybody's always wearing the skin tight spandex stuff, man, because and I know that must be what everybody's wearing out there, man. Metallic spandex stuff, form fitting, high tech, they'll protect you from anything kind of stuff, man. That's one of those technologies I crave, man. Indestructible spandex, indestructible metallic spandex.
Right. And according to Colonel Philip J. Corso, Kevlar was one of the materials that was derived from, the crashed pieces from the Roswell crash.
Right, yeah.
And the clothing around the beings, there was no zippers, no buttons, no Velcro. They said it was almost as if it was woven right onto the being. But it's impervious to almost anything. And
what if you had advanced clothing like that, and you could just change the dial of the dimension on that. So you'd still be wearing it, but it wouldn't be tangible in your physical reality. I mean, wouldn't that be hip, man?
Wow, that's a great idea. You know, patent that.
Yeah. Well, I think I just occurred to me here, so we'll get a joint. We'll get a joint. We'll do a joint venture.
Well, okay, great.
And I do mean a joint venture.
Yeah, a joint venture. Yes. Very good. Um, Thundercats was cool too, but nothing beats GI Joe for morals. Yeah, GI Joe, no one died, and the message at the end. Yeah, and also I got to add Transformers in there because no one has the humanity that Optimus Prime has, and has more humanity than any human I've ever met.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, as an adult, I'm not. Okay, I don't tell anybody I'm an adult, but I'm 43 now, and I still watch those. Even the newer redos of the Transformers are really good, and it almost brings a tear to your eye watching the Optimus. There's such cool written stories. I'm really into that stuff, and if I'm watching a movie, I really get into it, man. I'll be like, yeah, Optimus, you get him, you know.
You know, what was one of the really cool parts about working at Hasbro back in the day was when we got paid every week. We got our paycheck every week, you know, delivered to our cubicle, along with comic books. So the men would get the GI Joe and the Transformers comic book along with your paycheck, and the girls would get the My Little Pony one. So that was really, really cool. I have around here somewhere. I've saved those somewhere. But yeah.
My phone just told me it's down to 14%, so we should be
Uh-oh.
good for a while. But if it does cut out, that's why.
Okay. Well, the Cube. Transformers are disclosure. Yes, the Transformers are turning out to be disclosure. And, you know, they almost dropped the Transformer line back in 83, 84. And the R&D wanted to do something else and just not do Transformers anymore because it went from a $500 million item down to a 200 some thousand item, 250,000. And
I remember in the movie when seeing that ship on the that was like, it's futuristic, but it's in the past and it's crashed and wrecked on the other side of the moon. That was one of those things that stuck with me. I saw that.
Yeah, I'm so glad they stuck with that story. So bottom line was marketing said, we're not going to drop this. 250 million is pretty big. We're going to keep rolling it along. And that was back in the early 80s. And look at it now, they've got the movies and it's incredible. And
I half a dozen animated series, and there's always been an incarnation of them, like the Power Rangers. Oh man, I used to hate that because it was so corny, and now I love it because it's so corny. I got all of the episodes on my computer, and I love watching the Power Rangers and stuff. I think the whole star seeding thing, saving the world thing, if it could be a little more like Power Rangers, I think it'd be a lot more fun.
Yeah, and that was a pretty cool. Now, did you ever hear the story behind Power Rangers? How the genesis of it?
No, I think it was starting in Japan, didn't it? Because it was based on.
Some guy bought the movie rights to some old TV series in Japan where they wore the suits and they'd fight all the rubber mask monsters. And he just added some American actors to it and spliced it all together. And there it was. I mean, it was like just slapped together and it was huge. The original Red Ranger was cool, and they kicked him out. He was too cool.
Oh yeah, well I think he got too old. But the Green Ranger, I like Green Ranger more because he was a long hair, So.
Oh yeah.
Well, he was almost like a bad guy at first, if I remember right.
Did you ever hear the story about the long hair in the military?
Mm-mm.
Well, and this happened like a long time ago. The Army was looking for people who had really good intuition, like they could sense someone coming before they actually came. And they tested all different kinds of people, and they found that these American Indians were really good at this. So they tested them and said, yeah, these guys are great. Okay, let's get them in the service. They shaved their hair and they lost their ability.
Yeah.
So they had to adjust the rules of being in the Army to accommodate these people to have their long hair, because your hair acts as an antenna.
Yeah. Ever since I've heard that, I thought, wow, that really makes sense. Because when I was a kid, I was just, I was identified more with the guy who was, he had made long hair and whole jeans, and I thought he was maybe in touch with something more that I'd be into than this guy over here that was, not doing that.
Now, my hair would be long now if it weren't for me owning a Flowbee. So I highly recommend
What is
Flowbee.
that?
It was from the 70s.
Is that like one of the things from the
A
Wayne's
suck
World?
cut. It's the original suck cut, the thing that inspired the suck cut. It's called the Flowbee.
Oh, no.
I
Well, to
bought
see, it looks like it does a really great job, man.
it does a great job. It really does. And you can, it goes right into your vacuum cleaner. So there's no mess. So that's a brilliant thing.
I did that. I'd have to go get medically separated from it, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think we're coming up to the end here. Let's just check the chat here and see what's going on. Let's see.
Look, we got anybody left out there.
Pardon?
See if we still got anybody left out there.
Oh yeah, we got 13 people watching, and thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Be sure to share this out to all your friends even after it's done. We got to get this guy famous. He's going to be the next Tom McDonald, only the heavy metal version, right?
Yeah.
And different genres. He's into different genres. I think I saw you have a guitar. Do you have a bass player too? A bass guitar?
Yep, a couple guitars.
And a keyboard?
Yep.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yep. Got me a nice computer drumming program.
So what song are you working on right now that might be released soon that people could look for?
Well, I haven't named it or put lyrics to it yet. But what I did was look out, like I said, I'm still learning the basics of a lot of this stuff. I obviously knew what a verse and a chorus was, but I was a little confused on the bridge. So I look up, what's the meaning of a very basic question? And I found out, and this formula, like intro, chorus, verse, and then you do this kind of a Joe Biden moment. That part, the bridge, right? And that's like a totally different, change it up, real intense kind of thing. And then you kind of go into the solo, and I set it up this type of framework, and it's this kind of basic guitar, and it just lends itself to, I want to come out with a verse and be like some kind of just real cool, low talking kind of thing, and then it's gonna pick up jam into the chorus, and I'm just getting ready to lay some kind of fun words to it and figure out what it's gonna be about.
Cool.
Probably some kind of deployable stuff, or something to counter the cabal tactics, or make fun of racism, something, I don't know, something relevant.
Yeah, it is just crazy what they're spoon feeding to these people who still are lapping it up. It's remarkable that it's working. I mean,
well, karmically, these people, I think they allow it. If you want to indulge in the hatred, that's your party. That's who that's going to appeal to. You saw a whole campaign just running the hatred of one guy, and maybe he's just ducked out of it for a while because look how everybody's calmed down now. At least everybody's not triggering on the internet now with their Donald Trump syndrome.
Right.
I don't even know if I should say that in a video, man. People may. No, our audience will be a little better.
Yeah. Well, Chuck, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for coming on the Truth Quest. And we're looking forward to your music and your new drawings. I'm sure you're going to be huge. Folks, check this guy out, Mr. Chuckster Guy on YouTube, and follow him on Facebook, Chuck Raymond. And we'll see you next time out on the web. Until then, peace in.